What if the biggest thing determining your success, your wealth, and your health is something you do every single day, every single second, completely on autopilot, without even realizing its power?
Right.
What if every thought you have is a literal magnet, just pulling your future right into existence? I want you to just pause wherever you are right now and really consider that for a moment.
Mhm.
What if you already possess the most powerful tool in the universe right there inside your own mind?
It is, it is a profoundly heavy realization to come to, and I mean that in the best way possible because it shifts everything. When you truly grasp that this isn't just, a metaphor, that your mind might actually be shaping the very fabric of your reality, you cross a threshold.
Yeah, you really do.
You stop being this passive observer of your life, just waiting for things to happen to you, and, well, you become its active architect.
Exactly. And today we are immersing ourselves in a deep dive into one of the most influential and honestly phenomenally successful books of modern times. We're talking about The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Now, let's just address the elephant in the room right away. We all know the pop culture version of this, right? We've all heard about vision boards or manifesting a good parking spot or just this general concept of wishful thinking.
Yeah, the bumper sticker version.
Right, exactly. But today, we are stripping away all those buzzwords. We're going to look at the actual historical, psychological, and even quantum architecture behind what Rhonda Byrne compiled. And, the story behind how she compiled it is incredibly moving.
It really is. It's so foundational to the message itself.
Right, because this wasn't written from a mountaintop by some guru who just had it all figured out from birth.
Yeah.
Rhonda Byrne discovered this century-old knowledge during a period when her own life had completely, and I mean utterly, collapsed.
Which is, it's so often the exact environment where the most transformative wisdom arrives. The old structures of our lives almost have to fall apart to leave room for a completely new understanding.
Yeah, she had worked herself into just sheer exhaustion. Her father died suddenly. Her relationships, both at work and at home, were in absolute turmoil. She was just surrounded by despair, completely burned out.
And yet, out of that profound darkness came a glimpse of something extraordinary.
Right, a glimpse found in a 100-year-old book given to her by her daughter. It was Waddell's The Science of Getting Rich. And from that single glimpse, she basically began tracing this knowledge back through history.
She discovered a thread, a sort of hidden continuity that connected some of the most brilliant minds humanity has ever produced. And I think we need to establish right away that this material, while it's packaged in a very modern format, it represents a foundational principle understood by prominent revolutionary thinkers.
We're talking about heavy hitters here.
Oh, absolutely. Plato, Shakespeare, Newton, Victor Hugo, Beethoven, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein. The premise here is that these individuals didn't just have high IQs.
Right, it wasn't just raw intelligence.
No, they understood a fundamental mechanism of the universe.
And once she understood this mechanism, she just couldn't unsee it. It triggered a literal global phenomenon. Within months of the original film's release, the stories just started flooding in.
Tens of thousands of them.
Yeah, and these weren't just, nice stories about people feeling a bit more optimistic. We are talking about accounts of miraculous physical healings, people walking after devastating accidents.
Unexpected and massive wealth appearing.
Exactly. Broken families restored to harmony. It was a tidal wave of transformation. So our mission in this deep dive is to unpack the precise mechanics of this universal law. We want to examine how it dictates everything from global wealth distribution to your own personal physical health.
And most importantly, to uncover how you can consciously take control of it today.
So let's start at the very foundation. The core of this entire philosophy, what is simply called the secret, is the law of attraction.
Right. And it can be distilled down into a very simple three-word phrase like attracts like.
Like attracts like.
Yes. At its most basic level, the idea is that whatever is going on in your mind, whatever you are persistently holding in your thoughts, you are actively attracting to yourself.
Okay, so like attracts like. It sounds almost too simple at first, doesn't it? Like you said earlier, it sounds like a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
But when we look at the historical context, the depth of this becomes pretty staggering.
It really does.
Bob Proctor, who is one of the prominent voices in this material, he points us all the way back to the ancient Babylonians. Now, we've all heard of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, right? One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But let's really think about Babylon for a second.
Because it wasn't a naturally lush, tropical paradise.
Exactly. It didn't just happen to be wealthy. It was built in a really harsh environment. Yet, scholars have long documented their incredible, unprecedented prosperity.
They engineered it. According to the philosophy we are exploring today, the Babylonians became one of the wealthiest races in history, specifically through their understanding and application of these universal laws. Yeah, they didn't just stumble into wealth through geographical luck or mere physical labor. They engineered it through their mindset. They held a collective dominant frequency of absolute abundance.
And Proctor uses that historical example to bring up a modern statistic that, well, it just stops you in your tracks. He asks us to look at the world right now, today, and consider this. Why does roughly 1% of the population earn around 96% of all the money that's being earned?
It's a massive disparity.
It is. And when we look at that disparity, our default reaction is usually, well, the economic system is broken, or it's just a grand accident of circumstances or inherited privilege.
Sure, that's the standard narrative.
But Proctor takes a completely different angle.
Yeah.
He says it's designed that way. He argues that this 1% understands something the rest do not. They understand this law.
The argument in the text is that this minority thinks thoughts of abundance and wealth, and this is the truly critical part, they do not allow any contradictory thoughts to take root in their minds. Their predominant thoughts are exclusively of wealth and expansion. Now, Dr. Dennis Waitley expands on this brilliantly in the material. He provides us a fascinating, almost Machiavellian perspective on the history of this knowledge.
Oh, I found this part so interesting.
Right. He explains that leaders in the past who possessed this understanding actively coveted it. They wanted to keep the power centralized, so they deliberately kept the masses ignorant of it.
Boy, I have to jump in here. Because if this is a literal law of the universe, like gravity, how do you hide it? I mean, you can't hide gravity from the peasants.
That's a fair point.
This law of attraction is always working everywhere. Why wasn't this taught in every school? How do you keep the very mechanism of reality a secret from the people who, frankly, need it most?
Well, because you don't hide the law itself. You hide the awareness of it by manipulating where people place their focus. See, an empowered population, a population that understands it can create its own reality from within without requiring external permission or resources, is very difficult to control. So what do? You keep people focused strictly on the physical grind.
The day-to-day survival.
Exactly. You keep them on a treadmill of mere survival. If a society is structured so that the average person's dominant waking thoughts are completely consumed by paying the next bill, surviving the next week, fearing the next crisis, or, worrying about political instability, they are trapped.
They are trapped in a frequency of lack.
Precisely. And by the law of attraction, that frequency of lack simply draws more circumstances of lack to them. It's a self-sustaining cycle, engineered entirely by a lack of awareness.
Wow.
The masses go to work, they do their jobs, they come home tired, they worry about money, they sleep, and they repeat. They are devoid of real power, not because they lack physical strength or intelligence, but because the ultimate power, the power of deliberate, conscious thought, has been hijacked by survival instincts.
Think about that for a moment. Just let the weight of that sink in. But, it's one thing to say, think thoughts of wealth and you get wealthy while sitting comfortably in a living room. If this is a literal law of physics, we need to understand the mechanics.
Right, the how.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
How exactly does a thought, which feels like this invisible, weightless, fleeting puff of air inside my skull, how does it physically pull an object or a circumstance or a specific dollar amount into reality?
Well, let's bring in Mike Dooley's famous 3 words from the book, because they are the anchor for this whole idea. Thoughts become things.
Thoughts become things. Let those words really settle in your mind. We are so heavily conditioned to think of our thoughts as private, isolated, purely internal events that have absolute zero bearing on the external physical world.
We think they're safely locked away inside our heads.
Right. But the perspective here shatters that paradigm. It asks us to see ourselves as human transmission towers.
I love this analogy.
I want to spend some time on this, actually, because it's the bridge that makes the invisible visible. Right now, as you are listening to this, wherever you are, maybe you're in your car, maybe you're walking the dog or sitting in your living room, the air around you is completely saturated with invisible frequencies.
Radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, television broadcasts.
Exactly. And we all understand how a television works. A TV tower broadcasts a specific frequency. That invisible frequency travels through the air, gets picked up by your television set's antenna, and the internal mechanics of the TV transform that invisible signal into physical pictures and sounds on a screen.
And if you don't like the picture on the screen, if you're watching a terrifying horror movie or a depressing news broadcast, you don't walk up to the television and start yelling at the glass.
Right. You don't try to physically manipulate the screen.
No, you simply change the channel. You tune the receiver to a different frequency, and a completely different picture appears.
And the material argues that humans are the most powerful transmission towers in the universe. Your thoughts are actively broadcasting a frequency right now, every single second.
And the pictures that come back to you aren't on a flat screen in your living room. They are the actual physical events of your life.
Yes, your bank account, your health, your relationships, the opportunities that randomly come your way, they are the broadcast returning to you.
Yeah.
You are the tower and your life is the screen.
And to ground this in something more substantial than just a clever metaphor, the text brings in Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, a very prominent quantum physicist. He states clearly that quantum physics points directly to this discovery.
Quantum physics.
Yes. Now, quantum mechanics is notoriously complex, but at its heart is the concept of the observer effect.
Okay, let's unpack that because I think we need to ELI 5 this. Explain it. Like I'm 5. How does quantum physics prove that my mind alters reality?
Okay, so at the subatomic level, the level of electrons and photons, the tiny building blocks of absolutely everything in the universe, including your body and the chair you're sitting on matter, doesn't exist in a fixed, solid state until it is observed.
Wait, really?
Truly, before observation, these particles exist in a state of probability. It's a wave of potential. But the very moment a conscious observer measures or looks at the system, that wave function collapses into a single physical reality.
So without a mind looking at it, the universe is just this swirling soup of maybe.
Exactly. You simply cannot have a universe without the mind entering into it. The mind is actually shaping the very thing that is being perceived. This isn't imaginary craziness or new age wishful thinking.
No, it's science.
It is a deeper, basic understanding of how the fabric of reality operates at the most fundamental level. The observer fundamentally alters the observed. Therefore, your consciousness is not just a byproduct of the universe. It is a co-creator of it.
Wow. Think about the weight of that. You are not insignificant. You are not just a tiny speck in a massive, uncaring random universe being tossed around by fate. Your mind is literally collapsing waves of probability into the physical world around you.
It's breathtaking when you really let it sink in.
It is.
Yeah.
But here is the part that I think trips a lot of people up, and it's a crucial point to understand. If you look at your life right now, your current reality, the good, the bad, the debt, the stress, the joy, the home you live in, it's merely a receipt. It is a reflection of your past thoughts.
Yes. Because in this physical dimension, there is a delay in manifestation. What you are experiencing today is the echo of what you were broadcasting yesterday, last month, or last year. Since you attract what you think about most, it's actually very easy to audit what your dominant thoughts have been over the past few years. Just look around at your life. Your life is the perfect mirror of your past frequency.
Now, that can be a harsh pill to swallow. I mean, if I'm looking at a mountain of debt or a failing relationship, it's painful to hear you broadcasted the frequency for this.
It can absolutely feel like blame at first, but the profound liberation here is that until now, you might have been doing it entirely unconsciously.
Right.
You were on autopilot. Now, with this knowledge, you can consciously change the channel. You can change the frequency right now in this exact second and begin collapsing entirely different probabilities, creating a completely different future.
Which naturally leads to my next major hurdle with this concept. If our minds are constantly shaping reality, and if we are these incredibly powerful quantum magnets, why on earth do so many people experience realities they absolutely despise?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Why do we manifest chronic debt or debilitating illness or toxic relationships? No one wakes up, stretches, and says, I really hope I get a flat tire and struggle to pay my rent today.
That is the essential paradox. And Bob Doyle provides the answer in the material. He introduces the concept of attracting by default.
Attracting by default.
Yes. People don't deliberately or consciously attract unwanted things. It happens because their thoughts and, crucially, their emotions are on autopilot. We spend our days reacting to the world rather than intentionally creating it.
Okay, let's use a real-world example. The classic bad morning snowball effect.
Oh, we all know this one.
Right. You wake up and you immediately realize you've overslept. Panic sets in, you rush out of bed, stub your toe, now you're in pain and you're angry, you rush to make coffee, spill it all over your clean white shirt.
It just keeps building.
Exactly. Now you're furious and running even later. You get in the car, aggressively hit the gas, and immediately hit every single red light and eventually get pulled over for speeding.
That is attracting by default in real time. See, the law of attraction doesn't judge whether the frequency of panic or anger is good or bad for you. It just acts as a perfect mirror. It matches it.
It just says yes.
Exactly. It says, the dominant frequency is frustration, chaos, and lack of time. Here are more physical circumstances to perfectly match that frustration. The red lights and the speeding ticket didn't just happen to you. They were drawn into your experience by the intense emotional broadcast you started the moment you woke up in a panic.
Okay, I have to push back hard here. Because while that explains a bad morning, this entire concept sounds incredibly stressful, almost terrifying, when applied to a whole life.
I completely understand why you'd say that.
I mean, if I have a negative thought, if I suddenly get a flash of worry about my kids getting hurt or I stress about losing my job because of a rumor at work, does that mean I am instantly manifesting a disaster? Do I need to be terrified of my own brain? Because I have negative thoughts all the time. Everyone does.
And that is a very natural, almost universal fear to have when you first encounter this material. It really can feel like you're suddenly walking through a minefield in your own mind. But there are profound reassurances built into this law. First, time serves us. In our three-dimensional physical reality, there is a time buffer. Manifestation is not instantaneous.
But if there's a time buffer, how long is it? Is it a day?
Huh?
A year? And honestly, doesn't the idea of a time buffer just give us a convenient excuse when things don't work out? Like, oh, I'm manifesting $1 million. The time buffer is just taking a decade.
That's a great point. The length of the time buffer is directly proportional to the intensity of your emotion and the absolute clarity of your belief. But the purpose of the time buffer isn't to delay your desires. It's a safety mechanism.
How so?
Well, if you briefly think of a wild elephant, one doesn't instantly appear and crush your living room.
Right. Thank goodness.
Exactly. That delay is a beautiful gift. It allows you to observe your negative thought, realize you are tuning into the wrong frequency, and consciously pivot. You have ample time to change the channel before the picture fully resolves on the screen.
So it's not the fleeting, intrusive thoughts that are dangerous.
Yeah.
It's the predominant, sustained, obsessively held thoughts, the ones we feed day after day.
Precisely. And there is a second, even more powerful biological and energetic component here. Emotion.
Emotion.
Yes. Charles Haanel, who wrote extensively about this over a century ago, called the law of attraction the law of love. He explained that thought, when impregnated with love, becomes invincible. Feeling is the secret amplifier.
I want to tie this into neuroscience for a second because it makes so much sense. We have something in our brains called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. It's this bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through. Your brain just can't process the millions of bits of data around you every second. So the RAS filters the world based on what you focus on. If you decide you want to buy a red Jeep, suddenly you see red Jeeps everywhere.
Right. They didn't magically appear.
Exactly. Your brain just stopped filtering them out because you told it they were important. Emotion is what tells the brain, and the universe, this is important. Give me more of this.
That's perfectly stated. A passing negative thought, a momentary worry about a presentation, has very little power compared to a sustained, passionate, deeply felt positive emotion. The intensity of the feeling overrides the fleeting negative data.
And the material is so clear about this. It says the ultimate shortcut, the literal cheat code to this whole system, bypassing all the complex visualization techniques, is to simply be and feel happy now.
Yes.
Because feeling good is the ultimate signal you can send out. Dr. Joe Vitale emphasizes that the more you can feel good, the more you attract the circumstances, people, and events that will help you continue to feel good. It's an upward spiral.
And you don't even have to figure out the exact mechanics of how the money or the relationship or the career breakthrough will arrive. You just have to hold the frequency of joy.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human behavior, it flips the entire paradigm of how we pursue our goals. Think about the standard narrative. Most people operate on a deferred happiness plan.
Always waiting.
Right. They say, I will finally be happy when I get the new car, when I get the promotion, when I lose the 20 pounds, when I find the perfect partner. They are delaying the emotion until the physical evidence appears.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the law of attraction dictates that you must reverse that completely. You must generate the feeling of happiness now in the present moment without any physical evidence to justify it. You have to see it to believe it internally first.
That sustained feeling of happiness, that vibration, is the magnetic force that actually pulls the car, the promotion, or the health into your reality, the feeling must precede the manifestation, not the other way around.
It's one thing to apply this to personal goals, like getting a promotion or finding a partner. But if we really want to test the structural integrity of this philosophy, we should look at how it operates in the most hardened, practical arenas of human history.
We aren't just talking about manifesting a good mood anymore.
No. We're talking about manifesting the impossible into physical reality. The material asks us to analyze the minds of the great creators, engineers, and innovators. Let's talk about the Wright brothers and the airplane, George Eastman in film, Thomas Edison and the light bulb.
What is absolutely fascinating here is that every single one of those inventions was considered not just difficult, but entirely impossible, even ridiculous, by the established science and society of their time.
The Wright brothers were mocked.
Relentlessly. The idea of humans flying in a heavy machine defied the accepted laws of physics. The only way any of those things were invented was because one person saw a picture in their mind with absolute clarity.
They saw the finished product before a single piece of it existed in the physical world. Thomas Edison famously failed thousands of times while trying to invent the practical incandescent light bulb.
Thousands of times.
Right. And a rational, externally focused mind would look at 1,000 failures and say, you know, the physical evidence is overwhelming. This is impossible. Stop wasting time. But Edison didn't let the external reality dictate his internal frequency. He had the mental image of the illuminated bulb.
And by holding on to that end result in their mind with utter unwavering faith in the invisible, the universe brought the invention into the visible world through them. They didn't necessarily know how they were going to do it when they started. The how was revealed step by step because they maintained the frequency of the what.
They had utter faith in the invisible. I want to bring in a quote from Henry Ford that perfectly encapsulates this mindset. He said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, either way you are right."
Oh, that's powerful.
Listeners, I want you to really let that settle into your bones. Either way you are right. Think about the wild visions, the massive, audacious dreams you have quietly suppressed over the years because society or your family or your own logical, rational brain told you it was impossible or ridiculous.
We all have them.
We do. Henry Ford was ridiculed for pursuing the motor vehicle. People thought horses were the ultimate peak of transportation. But he knew the law of the universe. He knew that if he held the vision, the universe would yield to it.
And we must acknowledge that this requires a tremendous, almost superhuman amount of mental discipline. When you are envisioning something that does not currently exist in your reality, whether that's a revolutionary technological invention or simply a life completely free of crushing debt, your current physical reality will scream at you that you are wrong.
It really will.
Your bank account will physically show you that you are broke. The history books will say humans can't fly.
And so the mastery of this material is the ability to make the inner vision louder, more vivid, and more real than the outer circumstances. As it states, the shortcut is to see what you want is absolute fact. The second you ask, the second you truly claim it internally, it is a fact in the universal spiritual field. You just have to wait for the physical shadow to catch up.
And if we are talking about invisible forces shaping physical reality, that naturally brings us to the most intimate physical reality we experience, the human body.
Yes, let's go there.
Because this power isn't just external, it doesn't just build planes and light bulbs, it has a profound, immediate, measurable effect on the internal biological machinery of your own body. Let's examine the application of this law to health.
This is perhaps one of the most paradigm-shifting and honestly potentially controversial sections of the material. And to be clear, we're unpacking the philosophy presented in the book here, exploring its radical perspective. It begins by examining a phenomenon documented thoroughly and accepted by modern medicine, the placebo effect.
The placebo effect is a powerful, undeniable phenomenon. Patients are given a completely inert substance, a sugar pill or a saline injection, but they are told by an authority figure, a doctor in a white coat, that it is a highly effective, miraculous new cure.
And what happens?
And because they truly think, believe, and expect that the tablet is a cure, their body undergoes genuine physiological changes. They receive what they believe.
Let's really think about the mechanics of that. The sugar pill didn't cure the migraine or shrink the tumor or relieve the joint pain. The belief in the pill triggered the brain to access its own internal pharmacy.
That's a great way to put it.
The brain released the necessary neuropeptides, endorphins, and healing chemicals to physically alter the state of the body. The mind cured the body, using the sugar pill purely as a permission slip. which proves definitively that the human mind is a massive factor in the healing arts.
It demonstrates that the body is highly responsive to the frequency of our thoughts and expectations, but this leads to a very challenging logical conclusion.
Right. And this is where I have to ask the difficult question, the one everyone is thinking. If our thoughts and beliefs control our physical health to this degree, does that mean we catch illnesses simply by thinking about them? What about viruses? What about germ theory? If I catch the flu, did I manifest the flu?
The perspective presented in the material is uncompromising on this point. It argues that you cannot catch anything unless you think you can.
That's intense.
It is. Now, thinking you can doesn't necessarily mean you sit around consciously wishing for the flu. It means operating on a frequency of vulnerability, fear, or expectation of illness. The argument is that by focusing on illness, by constantly worrying about the latest bug going around, you are inviting it to you with your thought.
This challenges our entire cultural conditioning about disease.
Yeah.
I mean, we are taught to be hypervigilant. We watch the news detailing the spread of a new virus. We track symptoms. We discuss who in the office is sick.
And the material argues that by doing that, by giving your focus and emotional energy to illness, you are asking for it. You are adding your energetic broadcast to the frequency of disease. Dr. Ben Johnson, who is featured in this section, brings a really revolutionary perspective.
What does he say?
He states that we are entering the era of energy medicine. He explains that if you remove physiological stress from the body does exactly what it was brilliantly designed to do. It heals itself.
And what causes that physiological stress?
Yes.
Fear, worry, anxiety, negative thinking, the wrong frequency.
Right.
When you are stressed, your body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. It goes into fight or flight mode.
Yes.
In that state, your immune system is literally suppressed. Your body stops focusing on healing and repair because it thinks it needs to run from a tiger. So by obsessing over illness, you stress the body, lower your defenses, and physically create the environment for the illness to thrive.
Exactly. So the practical application of this, according to the text, requires a radical shift in our social habits. I mean, how often do we bond with our coworkers or family members by complaining about our aches and pains, sharing stories about who is sick, or talking about how exhausted we are?
Constantly. It's almost a social currency.
I see.
Oh, you think you're tired? Let me tell you how little sleep I got.
Right. The advice given here is stark. If you are feeling unwell, do not talk about it, period, unless you want more of it. If someone asks how you are, regardless of the physical symptoms, you train yourself to say, I feel wonderful.
And what if you were trapped in a conversation with someone who is endlessly complaining about their own illness?
The material advises that if you cannot naturally change the subject to something positive, you need to walk away. Just walk away.
That sounds harsh.
It sounds harsh to our conventional social manners, sure, where we are trained to be empathetic by commiserating. But if you truly understand that you are an energetic transmission tower, staying in that conversation and focusing on their disease is poisoning your own frequency and actually feeding theirs, you walk away. And in your own mind, you envision that person completely well.
The era of energy medicine. That is a massive shift in perspective. It means that disease, emotional issues, chronic pain, they all possess a specific frequency. And as Dr. Johnson points out, all you have to do is change your frequency or create an opposite, higher frequency of health and vitality to dissolve the lower frequency of disease.
And the material is full of accounts of this actually happening.
Right. Since this knowledge spread, they were inundated with stories of chronic pain, depression, and disease dissolving from people's bodies. People walking after devastating accidents. Recovering from literal deathbeds by refusing to accept the grim prognosis and instead holding a vivid mental image of health. As the book states, all things are possible when you believe.
Which brings us to the ultimate, grandest realization of this entire philosophy. If the physical body is essentially just energy responding to the commands of our conscious thoughts, we have to zoom out even further. We have to look at the macro perspective of the universe.
What are we, really? What is this reality we're walking through?
Exactly. This leads us to the final, most expansive concepts, the energy universe and the masterpiece of you.
Let's take that macro view. It's a mind-bending exercise. If you look at your hand right now, it seems incredibly solid. It has weight, texture, boundaries. But if you put your hand under a powerful microscope, what do you see? You see skin tissues. Zoom in closer. You see individual cells. Zoom in past the cells. You see molecules. Keep zooming, and you see atoms.
And if you go deep enough, past the protons and neutrons and electrons, down into the quantum realm, what is actually there?
Right. What is there?
Mostly empty space and pure vibrating energy. Everything in the universe, From the solid wood of the chair you were sitting on, to the water in the ocean, to the burning stars in the night sky, to the thoughts firing in your brain. It is all, at its foundational level, just vibrating energy.
And physics tells us a fundamental, unbreakable law about energy. It cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. It only changes form.
Therefore, as the philosophy concludes, the pure spiritual essence of you, that spark of consciousness that is observing your life, has always been and always will be.
That is beautiful.
You are not a fragile, temporary, physical body that just happened to spark into existence for a few decades. You are eternal energy, currently expressing itself in a physical form. And because absolutely everything is made of the exact same energy, we are all fundamentally connected. We are all part of one continuous field.
So the illusion of separation, that you are here and I am over there, is just that, a perceptual illusion of the human senses.
Exactly.
The pure essence of you has always been. That is so profound. Think about what that realization does. It completely neutralizes the fear of lack. It neutralizes the fear of running out of time or the fear of fundamental failure.
It changes everything.
And it means that all the knowledge you would ever possibly want, all the brilliant discoveries, all the revolutionary inventions, all the music and art, they already exist in the universal mind as pure possibilities, just waiting for a human mind to tune into their frequency and draw them forth into physical reality. You hold access to everything in your consciousness right now.
If we connect this cosmic perspective to the gritty reality of our daily lives, it provides the ultimate liberation. We all carry around so much heavy baggage. We carry our cultural codes, our past difficulties, our traumas, the limiting beliefs passed down from our parents, the societal narratives about what is realistic.
Yeah, we let these historical shadows dictate what we believe is possible for our future. I come from a poor family, so I'll always struggle. Or I'm not naturally smart, so I can't start that business.
Exactly. But if you are pure energy and you're literally creating your reality anew in this exact present moment through the frequency of your current thoughts, then your past has absolutely zero power to dictate your future unless you let it.
Unless you let it?
The material implores you to let go of those historical limitations. They're just old, dead broadcasts. You are the only one who can create the life you deserve, starting right now.
Dr. Joe Vitale shares a beautiful analogy that I think perfectly captures this empowerment. He says you want to become acutely aware of your thoughts and choose them carefully, but you also want to have fun with this. This shouldn't be a grim, stressful task.
Yeah.
Because you are the masterpiece of your own life. You are the Michelangelo of your own life. The David you are sculpting is you.
I love that image. When Michelangelo looked at a massive, rough block of marble, he didn't see a rock. He saw the masterpiece perfectly formed inside it. And his job wasn't to build the statue. His job was simply to chip away everything that wasn't David.
Yeah.
When you look at your life, you need to grab the chisel and start chipping away the fear, the doubt, the societal conditioning, the obsessive focus on lack and illness. You chip away the wrong frequencies until all that is left is the magnificent, unlimited creator that you actually are.
It's about stepping completely out of the matrix of your own historical limitations. It's realizing you literally have your finger resting on the feeling happy button at all times. And you just have to press it down and hold it firmly, no matter what external circumstances are swirling around you.
Stop waiting.
Exactly. You stop waiting for the outside world to arrange itself perfectly so you can finally be happy. You generate the happiness inside first and watch in awe as the outside world frantically rearranges itself to match your new vibration.
And we must be honest with the listener here. This requires constant daily vigilance. As the text reminds us, your ultimate power is in your thoughts. So you must stay aware. Remember to remember.
It is so incredibly easy to slip back into attracting by default.
It really is. It's easy to let the autopilot take over when a stressful email arrives, or traffic gets heavy, or someone insults you. But mastering your life means making the conscious, sometimes difficult choice, moment by moment, to tune your transmission tower back to the frequency of joy, abundance, and health.
So we've journeyed all the way from the sun-baked bricks of the ancient Babylonians to the mind-bending reality of quantum physics. We've gone from the Wright brothers defying gravity to the placebo effect defying modern medicine. We've talked about human transmission towers, the reticular activating system, and energy medicine.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But as we synthesize the ultimate takeaway from all these sources, from all these brilliant historical and modern minds, it really distills down to one breathtakingly simple, empowering concept. The greatest secret is that your life is a blank blackboard.
Yes, it is not pre-written. Your destiny is not set in stone by your genetics, your past failures, your childhood, or the current state of the global economy. You get to pick up the chalk and fill that blackboard with whatever you desire.
The universe is not judging your requests.
Not at all. It doesn't decide if your dream is too big or too greedy or too impossible. It is simply, neutrally, flawlessly answering your every energetic command. The only true requirement, the only real work you actually have to do in this life, is to commit to feeling good now. When the voice and the vision on the inside become louder, more profound, and more undeniably real than the opinions and circumstances on the outside, you have mastered your life.
This is truly the best time in human history to be alive, because this knowledge, once coveted by kings and elite scholars, is finally at our fingertips. You don't have to be a Babylonian ruler to access it. You have it right now, humming inside you.
So true.
So how do we step out of this deep dive and back into the reality of our day without losing this momentum, without letting the autopilot switch back on? Here is an actionable step for you, the listener, to apply right this second. Set a clear, undeniable intention. Say to yourself out loud if you can, I am the master of my thoughts.
Make a game of it today. Catch yourself when you drift to a frequency of worry or frustration and pivot.
Or even simpler, ask yourself right now, what is my joy? What actually makes you feel light and excited and deeply grateful? Find that feeling, hold it in your chest, and lean into it.
Because as you commit to your joy, you radiate that frequency outward into the quantum field. And the law of attraction must, by its very definition, return an avalanche of joyful people, circumstances, and events to you. The more you consciously use this power, the more power you will draw through you.
You are the Michelangelo of your own life.
Yeah.
And the chisel is firmly in your hand. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over.
Okay.
If everything we've discussed today is true, if one single human mind can collapse quantum possibilities into physical reality, if one mind can heal a body or invent an airplane, then what happens when we stop acting as isolated towers? If we are all connected by the exact same universal energy, what happens when millions of people deliberately tune their frequencies to the exact same vision of peace or healing or abundance at the exact same moment? What kind of world could we manifest then? Think about that for a moment. Now that you hold the knowledge of this profound secret, what you do with it is entirely up to you. Whatever you choose is right. The power is all yours. May the joy be with you.